Okay, now that we have all the links done, we will put the links on in the order that Vanquish shows so we don't get them in the wrong place. The first one is the front upper link. The front upper link is this one, kind of the medium sized one. Okay, and it goes here, down in here, not on the down in the bracket, but down in. Man, that's a tight fit. There we go. Okay, and it takes a 20mm M3 screw. Now to get it all lined up. Again, I'm going to use my electric screwdriver. If you do, remember, don't over torque it. You don't want to strip it. Oop, I missed it. Doesn't want to line up together. I don't know why. Alright, got that. Next is the front lower links. So the front lower links are these links. And they also take the 20mm screws. Again, you don't have to get them real tight. They're not going to fall out, I promise you. Okay, then next it's the pan hard bar. Now the pan hard bar, if you had 4 links, then you'd have another link running here. But Vanquish, this particular one has a pan hard, so the pan hard runs this way, perpendicular, instead of parallel to the chassis. Okay, so, and the pan hard, it says here, can be, the length of it can be changed to depend on your shock size and anything else that you make adjustments to. Right now I have it really short because I just twisted them on, but according to their picture, we got to back off on these rod ends so that it's the length that they want for the shocks that we have. So this can be made smaller or longer by backing off or tightening up the ends. You want to get them the same distance on each end. I mean, you could probably just do one. It wouldn't make any difference. All you're doing is trying to get the length the same as what they want you to have it on here for the shock setup that we have. Okay. Now the panhard has its own little bracket here, and Vanquish made it out of metal, which is nice. And that panhard goes in that bracket. Okay, now it goes on with a 20 millimeter, no, 16 millimeter screw with a lock nut, or an NY nut, lock nut they call it. And in this case, there's two ways to do this. If you got a little wrench, that's fine. They also fit in. Whoa, sorry about that, fellas. Knocked you over. They fit in the wheel wrench. And this one goes in the here, but it won't actually fit. Well, it sort of fits in there, but in this case I'm just going to use a pair of good needle nose pliers to hold the nut while I turn in the screw. Yeah, that's interesting. That panhard is, you can't get to either one of them with a very straight. We'll get it though, if we have to. Just hold the screw and turn the nut. Okay, again with a locking nut, you don't have to go crazy with the torque on the nut. It'll stay, it's not going anywhere. Alright, so now we have the panhard on. Next is the, okay, well what they do is they go ahead and put on the axle. So we'll just follow the instructions. And the next thing you do is get your axle. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put the shocks on the axle. We're talking about the front axle here. And the shocks go a specific way. You got it up and you got it down. Okay, so we're getting ready to put the shocks on, and I noticed something that you need to check before you put the shocks on. There are two different kinds of bushings for these shocks. One has a spacer on one end. The other one does, excuse me, does not. So the spacer one goes on the bottom part of the shock, and the one without the spacer goes on the top part of the shock. And I did not notice that when I put these shocks together. So before you get ready to put them on, make sure you check and see that you got everything in the right place. Because I just threw them on there, not realizing that they were different. Okay, so again, the spacer part here goes on the bottom of the shock, which goes into the axle and goes toward the differential. And we use 20 millimeter flathead screws. Okay, so again, gotta pay attention to the instructions, or down the road you may find yourself doubling up on what you did before. But to be expected, especially with my old brain. Alright, now we got the shocks on the front axle. We need to put the steering mechanism, or the steering link, and also the panhard bar. No, they go on together. Okay, I do know that much. Panhard bar is on here. So now this can get confusing. We got links, we've got axles, we've got drive shafts, we've got panhard bars, and we got steering links, all to put on at the same time. Okay, so the panhard bar is already on the chassis. Okay, so on this we put the drag link. So we've got the drag link, the panhard bar, the links, steering, the shocks, and the drive shaft. Okay, so the drag link, this can be adjusted also to whatever length you need it to serve your purposes for your tow in or out. Okay, so we got the drag link and the steering link, and they both go on the long side of the front drive shaft together. Okay, so we need a pretty long screw, I'm sure. That is a 25 millimeter. Okay, so they have the steering link on the bottom, the drag link on the top, and again, they all go in here together. All right. So far, so good. All right. My hand's getting tired. These screws are long. Okay. Got the drag length. Now on the other side, we got the steering arm and a spacer that comes in the old pack there. And of course, another 25 millimeter screw with the spacer on top, and then the steering link on the bottom. Whoa. Alright. Well, we got all that together. Drag link, steering link, spacer, shocks. Now, put it on the chassis. Lost my chain of thought there. Okay. Alright. Now, find the correct drive shaft spline. It's a 40 millimeter one. Okay, that goes inside of here, and then it goes inside the one on the transfer case. And I got the whole thing upside down. So let me flip it over. Make sure you pay attention to which way everything goes. Okay, so to orient this brace here, the strengthening brace, goes toward the chassis, upside down in this case. And then the lower link goes to the lower position, or the upper position on the axle, lower position on the, when you're looking at it here, just follow the picture and make sure you orient yourself if you got your chassis upside down, which you will have, because there is no way you're going to put this on holding it up in the air. Okay. I need a 16 millimeter flathead. Like I said, this can be fun. You got all this stuff in shocks and drive shafts, and see, now my drive shaft actually fell out. My shock is in the way. So we'll get this on there yet. This is when you wish you had 3 hands. I'm going to be honest with you. I would like to have a hand or arm right out the center of my body to hold all this stuff. But our maker did not see fit to give us 3 arms, so we have to make do with what we got. Alrighty, now get this axle spline thing back in where it belongs. The shocks where they belong. Okay, then after you put that on, they don't really give you a whole lot of guidance. We're going to put the... Alright, so the upper link goes between the differential and the bracket. Okay, it screws into the differential. And it goes in with a 16mm screw also. Well, it screws right into the differential cover, which is something I have never seen before. Interesting design. Okay, I just stripped the head of that screw out, not paying attention. Luckily I got it all the way in. I have extra screws, I will replace it. Okay, so again, this spline fell out. I want to make sure that when I get to tighten things up, like right now, it's going to stay in place. It's in there and I don't have to tear it apart. Because if you forget to keep that in there, you'll take it all apart because it's too, you can't get it in after all this stuff is together. Okay, I can't, there we go. Let's try not to strip this screw this time. I think I got the torque set too high for these screws. Yes. There we go. Better. Okay. Now we have all that put together. Now we put the shocks on. And they go on the shock towers. And they're screwed on with, I would imagine, 16mm. Just going to figure out which one goes where. Which end has threads and which end doesn't. And it looks to me like they both got threads. Right, my camera shut off, I don't know when, but the shocks mount into the shock towers using 20mm large head M3 screws. Okay, now, the next thing is the drag link. Of course, that goes to the steering arm on the servo, and that is a $12mm. The steering arm that I have has two holes. I'm going to put it in the furthest one away for now because I don't really know. We'll check the steering a little later. When we turn the servo on. Okay. Now the panhard. Uh-oh. Okay. That hooks to the axle on the top, there is a hole for it to go into right here. And this should align the front end up and keep it from going sideways on you. Okay, and the panhard uses a 12 millimeter. Screw. Okay, so now we have the panhard bar, the steering, and the shocks, the drive shaft, and all the links connected. What a job. Got everything connected. Okay, the rear is much easier. It has 4 links, the axle, and I already put the shocks on. So we just find our links, and we have 4 of them, and they are 2 different sizes, 2 different lengths. So the rear lower links are longer than the upper links. So this is an upper. This is a lower. And the upper links are thinner. They could go from 3 to 4. They got a taper. And the lower links are just solid. Okay, so where do the upper links go and where do the lower links go? So we look at the trusty drawing, and it shows the tapered ones, the upper links, going to the outer part of the motor mount, right here. Man, that's a tight fit. Okay, and we use 20 millimeter. And they go through the skid plate or slider, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I lost my gun wrench. Missed by that much. know if any of you are old enough to know Get Smart, but that's what he would say. Missed by that much. Darn it, missed again. I'm having trouble getting that lined up. It's such a tight fit. Okay, Vanquish, I appreciate your tight fits, but man, this one's a little bit too tight. Okay, I got it that time. Alrighty, and I'll put the other one on and I'll be back. Okay, got those on. Now we'll put the lower links, and they go into the motor mount, transmission mount, skid plate, all three. And this is not such a tight fit. Okay, those screws got to be longer than that one. It says 20 millimeter. Okay, let's see. I don't see how they're going to work. I could be wrong. In my opinion, there's not a whole lot of threads going to be into the okay, those are countersunk. I'm thinking, wow, those just ain't gonna fit. But the countersunk them. Okay. Okay, so now we got the links on. We'll put the axle on. The axle, we need 50 millimeter spline. And these are much easier to put on than the other ones. Okay. So the lower links go on the top of the axle. Let's take this off, you know. Here we're got this brace on the back, and the screw that goes in there is a really, really long one. I don't know what to do with it. Man, getting this all lined up. Again, this tool, tire wrench, will actually fit those nuts. All right, let go of my tool. All right, now make sure we got the spline going where it's supposed to be. Line up the lower links and those are held on by the 16 X2s, M2s. So the rear is really a lot easier than the back, the front. And then we put the shocks in the shock tower. And we have no parts left over. That's a good thing. Alrighty then. We now have everything, links, shocks, drive shafts. Those shocks feel pretty good. And so far they haven't leaked. So that is where we will finish today. Our next project will be starting to add accessories, and body parts, and everything else. So this is our chassis. Motor, transmission, we are ready to go on to the next part when we come back. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day.